Okay. So last class we were discussing about the component layers of pavement. As you know, there are two types of pavement: flexible pavement and rigid pavement. In case of a flexible pavement, it is a layered pavement. You call it as a layered pavement because there are four layers in the flexible pavement. A soil subgrade is present, then you have the sub base, then you have the base course, and at the top you have the wearing course or the surface course. This was the four different layers present in a flexible pavement. And you had another type of pavement. Actually, the flexible pavement is made up of bitumen. Bituminous materials is present in the flexible pavement. And you had one more type of pavement, that is the rigid pavement, that is also known as a cement concrete pavement, right? So we have seen all those things. In case of flexible pavement, we had the four layers, and in case of rigid pavement, you had the soil subbase, then you had the subbase layer, and over the subbase layer you had a cement concrete slab. And the load transfer mechanism in flexible pavement was layered mechanism. From the top layer, load will be transferred to the bottom layer, and as such the entire load will be transferred into the bottommost layer, that is the subgrade made up of soil. Whereas in case of a rigid pavement, the load transfer mechanism is a slab action. We have discussed these things. Then we started discussing separately about the different component layers. What are the different component layers? So we started with soil subgrade. So subgrade is made up of soil. Soil is the material used in subgrade. And what is the function of subgrade? The soil should be able to bear the load coming on the upper layers of the pavement due to vehicular movement. And we have also discussed some of the tests to be conducted. Then only we can have an idea on the quality aspects of subgrade. So to have an idea on the quality aspects of soil, we had certain tests. What are the different tests to be conducted on the soil subgrade? What are the different tests to be conducted on soil subgrade to know about its quality? One test was California bearing ratio test, that is the CBR test. So what is a CBR test? It is basically a penetration test. I think we have discussed CBR test in our last course on transportation engineering, so that is pretty clear to you. So I'm not going into the process of experiment and all those things. It is a measure of penetration. How much load is required for penetrating 2.5 mm of sample and 5 mm of sample? This is how you determine the CBR value. And you know what is the significance of CBR value? What is the significance of CBR value? The CBR value will give an idea on the pavement thickness. How much thickness should a pavement have? An idea of that is given by the CBR value. Another test on soil subgrade is the California resistance value test. You have an apparatus known as the Hume's tabulometer. Hume, I think last year when we were discussing the pavement design, I have told you one method known as the Hume method. Hume method, Hubbard method, different methods we have seen. So there is a Hume method. So the Hume's tabulometer is the apparatus used for measuring the California resistance value. This method is an empirical method. Another method is triaxial compression test machine. Triaxial compression test method, which is performed on a triaxial compression testing machine. So this will give an idea on the shear strength of soil. You will be studying the theoretical aspects of triaxial test in your soil mechanics. There are different tests for determining the shear strength of soil. What is meant by shear strength of soil? What are the different tests for determining the shear strength of soil? Such things you will be studying in soil mechanics. So to determine the shear strength of soil, we have several tests available, of which the best test for determining the shear strength of soil is a triaxial test. Now, why you call that a triaxial test is the best test? The reason is a triaxial test will give an exact replica of the normal field conditions. That means, suppose this is your soil sample. Okay, consider this as a sample of soil. In triaxial test, you will be subjecting the soil sample to pressures from all sides. Whereas in other tests of soil for determining the shear strength, if this is the soil sample, you will be fixing certain directions and the load will be applied only in that specific direction. In a real life case, in practical situation in the field, the sample will be subjected to, in practical situations in the field, the sample will be subjected to pressures from any direction. So that is why we always say that the triaxial test is exact simulation of the field condition. Okay, so these are the different tests for determining the characteristics of soil. Okay, characteristics of soil used in the subgrade layer. So first layer, that is the subgrade, we have discussed. Next, the other component layers in a pavement are subbase and base courses. So subbase and base course, these layers, we are making these layers with broken stones and some kind of aggregates. So broken stones and some kind of aggregates are the component layers in subbase or base courses. But in some situations, you will be using a layer of stabilized soil in the subbase. Okay, that means normally you will be using broken stones or aggregates. Normally broken stones or aggregates will be used in subbase, but in some situation the subbase layer will be made up of stabilized soil or certain type of selected granular type of soil will also be used, but normally it is made with aggregates only. But whenever you are using aggregates, okay, whenever you are using aggregates in a subbase course, it is always desirable to go for smaller size gradation of aggregates. Aggregates can be of any size range, but it is always better to use smaller size of aggregates, because the problem is if larger size aggregates are used. See, I hope it is getting clear to you, because last class I have shown you one diagram showing the flexible pavement. So that diagram should be present in your mind. Okay, I just want to know whether you are listening to what I am telling. That's why I am not showing this diagram again. Last class I have shown it and it's a very simple diagram. I expect that at least some of you might have noted down that diagram, so that, or at least you might have referred, so that whatever I am telling you are able to follow. Okay, if you are not able to follow, that is your mistake, because you have not listened carefully in the last class. So anyway, I'll be continuing. So what I told is, you have the subbase and the base course layers. Normally we will be using aggregates or broken stones in subbase or base course levels, but in some cases you will be using some stabilized soil or some granular kind of soil. Now I told you that we are using broken stones. We are using broken stones or aggregates. So whenever you are using broken stones or aggregates, the broken stones can be having any gradation. Okay, what do you mean by gradation? Gradation refers to the particle size. Did you study the particle size distribution of soil in geotechnical engineering? If you have studied it, it will be more clear. Okay, you have studied. Even I think I have taught you in concrete technology last semester. When we were studying concrete technology, at that point also I was telling about the gradation and all. So that is clear to you. We have different sieve sizes, and based on the opening in sieve, we will be classifying as different grades, right? So whenever you are selecting the gradation, it is always best suited to select smaller size particle. The problem with larger size particles is, if larger size particles are used in the subbase course, there will not be much proper interlocking among different stones, and the resistance to sinking. You know that the subbase or base course, both are covered by an upper wearing course, and it is on the wearing course, the vehicular movement will be occurring on the wearing course. It's a 4-layered system, right? We have a wearing course on the top, then you have the subbase, then you have the base course, then you have the subbase, and under you have the subgrade. So when vehicular movement is occurring, there is a chance that the subbase and base course layers will be sinking into the soil subgrade, which should not happen. There should not be any sinking of aggregates into the soil subgrade. So to prevent the sinking of aggregates during vehicular movement, what you have to do is you have to make sure that the aggregate selected for subbase or base is properly interlocked. So how can you make sure that the aggregates are having a proper interlocking with each other? To make sure that the aggregates are having a proper interlocking with each other, you have to select larger size stones so that there is you have to select smaller size stones so that there is a proper interlocking between the particles. Okay. So this is about the subbase and base course layers. In flexible pavement, the purpose of subbase and base course layers is to improve the load bearing capacity. How load bearing capacity is improved? Before transmitting the load into the soil subgrade, it will be passing through the subbase or base course layers. So that is the main function of subbase or base course in a flexible pavement. When you speak about a rigid pavement, in case of rigid pavement, the function of subbase and base course is different. In case of rigid pavement, the subbase or base course is used for two purposes. First one is to prevent pumping. From the soil subgrade, there should not be pumping of mud into the top layer. To prevent that, you will be using this subbase or base course. And another thing is to protect the subgrade against frost action. What do you mean by frost action? When there is a What do you mean by frost action? When there is a fall in temperature, the water present within the aggregates will be freezing. And once ice crystals are formed within the void spaces, if ice crystals are formed, it will be resulting in an increased volume, and that will exert a greater pressure on the pavement surface. So frost action should not be happening within the subgrade. To prevent that also, the base course and subbase will be functioning. The base course and subbase will be functioning in the case of a rigid pavement. Okay. Now we'll move on to the next layer, that is the wearing course. What is the purpose of wearing course? The wearing course is a very dense course, but it will be providing a smooth riding surface for the pavement. Okay. So wearing course is the topmost course. It is also known as surface course, which will act as the pathway for vehicular movement. So the objective is to provide a smooth riding surface. Objective is to provide a very smooth riding surface which is dense in its nature. And the pressure exerted by the tires during vehicular movement over the wearing course, there is a chance that pressure will be exerted due to the contact of tire with the wearing course. So the pressure exerted by tires should be taken up. Okay. Now, and another function of wearing courses, it offers a watertight layer. You might have seen that during rainy seasons. Do you know what is meant by potholes? Water-filled depressions might be observed on the surface of roads, especially during rainy season, which will lead to the pavement failure. Okay, so potholes is a failure. So such things, if a crack is happening on the pavement surface, it will be filled with water and it will provide a path. It will provide a path for the entry of water into the lowermost layers, which should not happen. So the bitumen, when we are speaking about the flexible pavement, the wearing course will be made up of a bituminous material. So the bituminous material should be having the property of waterproofing. It should be preventing the entry of water into the soil subgrade. So waterproofing is another important function of the wearing course. So there are different types of treatment. There is different types of treatment to be conducted, or different type of test to be conducted for determining the quality of material to be used as a wearing course. So now the question is, what type of a wearing course will you provide for your pavement? We cannot tell that this is the best possible, this is the best method for surface treatment, because it all depends on the situation. What is the materials available? Then what are the what is the materials available? What about the availability of labor, availability of machinery? So all these things will decide which type of treatment should be given for a particular pavement surface. Okay, so this is about the different component layers in a pavement. The different component layers in a pavement are, what are the different component layers in a pavement? Soil subgrade, subbase, base course, and wearing course. And we have also seen what is the characteristics of all of these things. Now we have some other things to discuss. Have you heard about GSB? What is a GSB? What do you mean by GSB? Can anyone comment the expansion of GSB if you have heard about it? GSB is a term related to highway engineering. Okay, no problem. GSB means granular sub base. GSB means granular sub base. So now we are going to see what is meant by a granular sub base. So granular sub base means it is laid in the road work. Okay, granular sub base is a layer laid in the road work. So in the sub base you are providing a granular layer. Now let us see more about the granular sub base. So GSB stands for granular sub base. There are two major roles for a granular subbase. First one is it works as a drainage layer, and then it provides a good subbase to the laid base layer on it to provide a good drainage layer. So what is the requirement for a good drainage layer? A drainage layer will be preventing the entry of water into the lower layers. Okay, I told you that subgrade is made up of soil. Over the subgrade you are having the subbase and base course layers, and on the top you are having the wearing course. So when we were studying about the bituminous wearing course, I told you that one of the most important functions of wearing course is to prevent the entry of water. So even though the bitumen is capable of preventing entry of water downwards, there is a chance that some amount of water may be penetrating through the bitumen layer and reaching the subbase or base course. So if a granular subbase, if the subbase layer is made up of granular material, it can act as a drainage. Have you heard about permeability, a property known as permeability? Have you studied in soil mechanics? Please comment. Okay, you have studied. So what is meant by permeability? Permeability means it is the ability with which water can be transmitted through interconnected voids. I think that is the definition. Even though the words in definition is not exactly what I said, the meaning is same, right? The ability. V is directly proportional to I. Okay, that is the equation. I'm not asking for equation. Okay, I just want the concept. I just want to know what is permeability physically. I don't want the engineering aspect. So permeability means ability with which water or any fluid can be transmitted through the void spaces. So in case of aggregates, In case of aggregates, it is granular in nature and the permeability will be more. So once soil is entering, it can be directly used for draining out the water. Okay, so granular subbase will function as a good drainage layer. Then the another function of a GSB is it provides a good subbase to the laid base layer on it. Over the subbase layer, you have the base course. So for the base course, it will be acting as a good subbase if a granular material is used in the subbase layer. These are the two functions of GSB or granular subbase. Now, what is the material used in a GSB work? A material to be using for a GSB work is crushed gravel, natural sand, crushed stone, crushed slag, or a combination of these things. The only thing is the material should be free from organic substances. Grading 3 and 4 shall be used in a lower subbase. That's all about the different gradation curves, different gradation curves of aggregates. The thickness of each layer, if you are laying the subbase in 2 layers, okay, the subbase itself you are laying in 2 different layers. You have an upper subbase and you have another lower subbase. So the thickness of each layer in subbase shall not be less than 150 millimeter. That is another specification. These are all the physical requirements. Such details are not necessary from our point of view. Now construction operation. Spreading and compacting. Spreading and compacting are the most important operations in the construction of a granular subbase. So the subbase material will be mixed homogeneously. With the help of a motor grader, you are mixing the material homogeneously. And after spreading the material in the required position, it should be provided sufficient compaction. So spreading and compaction, this is the I'll show it again. This figure is showing the surface of GSB after rolling. So immediately spreading the mix. I told you spreading and compaction is two important steps in the construction of a granular subbase. So immediately after spreading the mix, you are going for rolling. Rolling means it's one method of compacting. You know the different methods of compaction: tamping, ramming, rodding, rolling. These are the different methods of compaction. So in granular subbase, the method of compaction provided is rolling. So if the thickness of compacted layer is not exceeding 100 millimeter, a smooth wheel roller of 80 to 100 kilonewton weight may be used. For a compacted single layer up to 200 millimeter thickness, the compaction shall be with the help of a vibratory roller of 80 to 100 kilonewton. So depending on the thickness of layer, depending on the thickness of the GSB layer, you will be adopting the best suited compacting method. So each pass of the roller shall uniformly overlap not less than 1/3 of the track made in the preceding pass. This is all the technical details of how this compaction need to be provided. So measurement, if a GSB work is completed, it will be measured in cubic meters. So how many cubic meters of work is completed? That is important. You may get such one-word questions in competitive exams. What is the unit for measurement of GSB? So don't think that it is meter square, just length and breadth is enough. It is measured in meter cube, length, breadth and height. You won't be getting such questions in university exam, but in some competitive exams, sometimes such questions will be asked. There are certain treatment for provided for soil to make it very suitable base course. Lime treatment, cement treatment. Last class, when we were discussing about soil stabilization. Okay, that assignment is pending. I'll upload the details of that assignment today itself in Google Classroom. I forgot to do it. Okay, there was one assignment on soil stabilization. So last time when we were discussing soil stabilization, when we were discussing soil stabilization, I told you that there are different methods of stabilization: mechanical stabilization, soil cement stabilization, soil lime stabilization, and soil bitumen stabilization. So either using cement or using lime, stabilization of soil can be done in case of a GSB. So that is some details about the granular subbase. You just need to understand what is meant by a granular subbase. Okay, and what is the different properties or different functions of subbase and base course we have already discussed. Now, another thing which we have to study is the WBM. Do you know what is meant by WBM? Can anyone comment the expansion of WBM? Please comment. Yes, water-bound macadam. So you know what is a WBM? WBM stands for water-bound macadam. Now what is this water-bound macadam? Water-bound macadam means you will be preparing a bed of a granular material, and into the granular material, into the void spaces of the granular material, into the void spaces of the aggregates, you will be using a filler. You will be using a filler, and the filler is filled, or filler will be filling the void spaces with the aid of water, and then you will be compacting the layer. Okay, I hope some idea you are getting some idea about water bound macadam. You are binding something with the help of water. There is one binding material usually soil, and in addition to the binding material, you are adding, or you are mixing the binding material with water, and you are filling a layer of aggregates. So you are filling the voids of aggregates, and you will be subjecting it to effective compaction. Now let us see more about water-bound macadam. So WBM is standing for water-bound macadam. Now let us see what is a macadam. Macadam means the pavement base course made of crushed or broken aggregates mechanically interlocked by rolling, and the voids filled with screening and binding material, with the assistance of water. Macadam means the pavement base course made of crushed or broken aggregates mechanically interlocked by rolling, and the voids filled with screening and binding material with the assistance of water. So this is what I told you. A water-bound macadam means you are having a layer of aggregates. Okay, you are having a layer of aggregates, and these aggregates are laid, and it is well compacted with the help of a roller. Once the aggregates are laid, the roller will be rolling over the aggregate layer, and the void spaces of aggregates will be filled with a binding material or filler. For example, soil will be used to fill the void spaces of the aggregate particle with water. You will be spraying water, and you will be compacting it with the help of a roller. This is how you go for a water-bound macadam. So a water-bound macadam may be used as a sub-base, base, or a surface course. So that is an important point. You may be getting some objective questions like, a water-bound macadam is used in which part of pavement? So it is not used in a subgrade. As you know, subgrade is made up of soil only. It can be used in sub-base, it can be used in base course, or it can be used in a surface course. It can be used in all of these situations. So that is a very important point about water-bound macadam. The thickness of each compacted layer of water-bound macadam ranges from 10 centimeter to 7.5 centimeter. The thickness of each layer of water-bound macadam will be ranging from 10 centimeter to 7.5 centimeter depending on the size and gradation of aggregates used. Now, I hope interlocked by rolling and the voids filled with screening and binding materials with the assistance of water. This thing should be clear. What is a WBM? Okay. Now, what are the materials required for a water-bound macadam road construction? What are the different materials required for a WBM road construction? For a WBM road, if you want to construct a WBM road, you should be having three types of materials. First one is coarse aggregates. As you know, coarse aggregates will be filled and the voids of the coarse aggregates will be filled with a screening or filler material with the help of water, and that will be rolled to get the water-bound macadam. So the most important part or most important material required for a WBM construction is coarse aggregate. Then you have the screenings. Then you have screenings or filler material, and you also have the binding material. So here you can see that the best or the base part is made up of coarse aggregate. These green circles are showing coarse aggregates, and you can see that there are void spaces between these coarse aggregates. So once a coarse aggregate layer is laid down, in the void spaces of the coarse aggregate layer, you will be using the screenings or filler material. So this dot is representing the screenings or filler material placed in the void spaces of the coarse aggregates. And then you have a binding material. With the help of a binding material, you are properly binding the WBM. So the coarse aggregate used in a WBM, it should be having certain properties. What are the essential properties of coarse aggregates which can be used as or which can be used in a water-bound macadam? The coarse aggregates used should be hard and durable. The coarse aggregate should be free. Coarse aggregates should be hard and durable. It should be free from flaky and elongated particle. And the coarse aggregate should be in acceptable shape and size. These are the requirement of coarse aggregates for a water-bound macadam. Now, screenings. The material used to fill up the excess voids. What are the materials you are using to fill the excess voids present in the compacted layer of coarse aggregates? Within the compacted layer of coarse aggregates, you will be using certain material for filling the void spaces. Such materials you call as screenings. So screening is nothing other than the smaller size aggregates. So we will be using non-plastic materials like murum, gravel, concar nodules. These are some common examples of materials used as screenings. Now binding material. So once the screening material is filled in the void spaces, you will be applying a binding material. You will be applying a binding material over the top, and then it will be subjected to suitable compaction. So this is the how preparation of foundation for a WBM road is done. Observe this figure. You can see a clay subgrade. Over the subgrade, so second layer, you can have a sub base consisting of coarse sand. The subgrade is made up of clay, and over the clay subgrade you are having a sub base which is made up of coarse sand. Over the sub base you are having a base course. Base course is made up of larger size particles. Then you have the layer of stones, layer of filler material. Within the void spaces of the aggregates, you are using the filler material, and that is used with the help of water, and it is subjected to sufficient compaction. And again, I told you that WBM is not provided in the surface course. So you have to provide a separate pavement surface. So this is how a waterbound macadam will be working. So that is the basic things. How coarse aggregates are spread. The coarse aggregates are uniformly spread on the prepared base after the construction of shoulders. Rolling operation. For compacting the coarse aggregates, you will be opting a rolling. Okay, rolling is the method of compaction. So generally, rolling is done with the help of a three-wheeled power rollers. You are having three-wheeled power rollers weighing 6 to 10 tons, or with the help of vibratory rollers. Now, application of screenings. So after the rolling operation is properly finished, screenings is applied to fill the void spaces. The screening may be applied in 3 or more layers as per the site condition. So this is coarse aggregates. Coarse aggregates will be laid and it will be rolled, and then you will be applying screening in 3 or more layers. As per the site condition, you will be applying screenings. Then sprinkling of water and grouting. After the application of screening, this is water bound macadam. Okay, so you are using an agent called water. Water is also used. Okay, water is also used. So once the screening is applied to the road surface, then you are properly sprinkling the road surface with water. Then once water is sprinkled thoroughly, you are brooming. You are using a broom to sweep the particles, to sweep the screening particles, or to fix the screening particles properly into the void spaces of aggregates. Then last one is application of binding material. Similar to your step of applying the screening material, you have to apply the binding material also. Okay. Then setting and drying of surface. After the final rolling operation, the road is allowed to cure or set overnight. The next day, if the depressions or voids are visible, then again sufficient amount of screenings or binding materials can be used and compaction is done. So waterbound macadam, the main operations is spreading, and you have to fill all the void spaces. The entire void spaces of aggregates need to be filled with screenings, and proper compaction should be given to the screenings. And after screenings are entirely filling the aggregate void spaces, you will be using a binding material, and the binding material should also be used properly, and sufficient compaction should be provided for the binding material also. So this is the, now these are the advantages of WBM roads. The construction cost of waterbound macadam road is comparatively low. No skilled labor is required. Constructed from locally available material. These are the advantages. And disadvantages is maintenance cost is high. Then the overall, as it is not requiring high skill, the quality controlling is also not that much good. So due to poor quality controlling of waterbound macadam roads, the durability aspect of waterbound macadam roads is having certain problem. The overall lifespan of these roads is very less. Then as waterbound macadam roads are permeable to rainwater, it will be leading to softening and yielding of subsoil. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of waterbound macadam roads. So understand thoroughly what is a granular subbase, what is a waterbound macadam. There is one more thing which you have to study, that is known as the WMM, that we'll be discussing in the next class only. That is a wet mix macadam. So today we have seen the functions of different component layers. Of course, the function of soil we have already seen, function of subgrade we have seen. Today we have seen the functions of subbase, base course and surface course, and also we have seen about GSB, granular subbase, GSB, and we have also seen about the waterbound macadam. Okay, regarding your assignment, I already told you I will be giving it in detail, so after that you can submit it. Okay, so Monday we'll be discussing the other thing, that is first we'll start with wet mix macadam, and then we will move on to other topics. Please comment your attendance over here.